Let's break that down a little further as we welcome in the Education Minister Jeremy Cockrill to studio this morning. Jeremy, thank you for being here.
Morning, Joe.
Initial reaction to your office to the move to ban cell phone use in schools?
I think it's been really positive so far over the last just about 24 hours or so. You know, we've been hearing from parents and teachers and even students over the last several months just really about the concern around cell phone use in class. And, you know, we want to make sure that our classrooms are a place for learning. That's what they're meant to be. And that's what we want really our kids focusing on in the classroom. And so I'd say the response has been overall fairly positive.
I grew up in a generation that didn't have cell phones. We barely had computer. We had computer class. Yeah. We couldn't wear hats, and we called our teachers Mr. and Mrs. They didn't have first names, even in the summer. So I don't know much about what the problem is inside the classroom. What are teachers telling you? How bad is it?
Well, I think the challenge that we're seeing is that, you know, let's be honest, the proliferation of cell phones and personal electronic devices is massive now, right? I mean, as you mentioned, when you were that age, when you were, say, a grade 6 or grade 7 student, you probably didn't have a cell phone. Neither did I. The reality is that students younger and younger are having cell phones now, and that's essentially a choice by families and parents to provide those cell phones. But at the end of the day, what we want for our schools, our publicly funded schools here in Saskatchewan, is for the focus to be on learning. And I think all too often what we're hearing from teachers is that those cell phones have become a distraction away from learning, and teachers are spending more and more of their time trying to manage cell phones and enforce, you know, what kind of the patchwork rules that we have across the province up till now. And that's really why we brought this policy in.
How do you get teeth into something like this? How do you enforce it?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with the 27 school divisions at the end of the day, all around the province. You know, really our expectation is that during class time, cell phones are away, they're out of sight, they're not present. There are exceptions, as kind of your story mentioned, certainly for medical situations, and we encourage parents and families to work with their school divisions on that. You know, and we understand that technology does have a place in education, but we want there to be a clear demonstrated instructional purpose if cell phones are going to be allowed to use in the classroom. And we do want to create a bit of a high bar for that, because again, we want to have the classroom as free from distraction as possible. And we also know that cell phones, they do have an effect on people's mental health as well, especially our young people, and we want to be very conscious of that going forward.
I did ask this exact question on the radio yesterday, doing some Pure Country 92.7, and they said, a few of the parents, what about those with special needs who use those as a way to communicate? Are you going to hurt them in some way? But you're saying there's an exemption for them, you can work with them. Yeah,
there's going to be exemptions. You know, certainly if you have a continuous glucose monitoring system, if you're someone who's living with diabetes, that's an example of medical exemption. You know, certainly students with exceptional needs, we want to work with those students and make sure that they have the tools that they need so they can participate in what happens in the classroom. But by and large, for the majority of students, we just think that cell phones don't necessarily have a place in the classroom, and we want them focusing on what their teachers trying to teach them and the work that they're doing with their peers.
There's going to be a few parents out there who will say, first you've said that we need to tell our teachers about our pronouns and names in schools. Now you want to talk about cell phones. How much further is this government going to reach into the classroom, into our students' lives?
Really, what we're really trying to get to is back to basics here. And you know, you talk about some of the things that were present when you were a student, Darryl. You know, we want to make sure that when our students are at school, that the focus is on learning. And because we've got some great years ahead in this province, we want to make sure that students are graduating with the knowledge and skills that they need to participate in what's happening in our province, all the good things. And you know, there's lots of opportunity to engage with technology outside of school.
It's all around us.
Absolutely. So for 10 months of the year, for a few hours a day, we really want our kids to be focused on what they're learning in school.
Thanks for a few moments this morning.
Thanks, Joe.